And our next speaker, he's been interested in fashion and textiles since he was a kid. He grew up with parents who run a clothing store, and we heard that yesterday. It was the same with Madeline Johnson, right? But this guy, he got this interest from the beginning, and combined with his interest in social and sustainable issues, has led him to what he does today. You see him here? Welcome on stage, Adrian Zethraeus. Give him a hand, yes.
Thank you very much.
And you're the project manager for Textile Movement, and that's an arena for change and movement to drive the circular transition within textiles and fashion, but also to strengthen the whole region in the west part of Sweden. So welcome.
Thank you. That's the ambition. A lot of words put on each other, but hopefully I will make it somewhat tangible what we are trying to do. And I think I probably connect to what other speakers have been saying. We all try to achieve this circular transition, but what does that really mean? And I'm going to talk about that in the context of Textile Movement, which is a new initiative in this region. Just to start off, my name is Adrian, as I was introduced. I work for Science Park Borås. Science Park Borås is a part of the university in Borås, which is a little bit famous for its textile education and research. But we also have this Science Park, which is more of the innovation arena. So we collaborate a lot with researchers, with companies and other stakeholders, and to push this transition. We're focusing on textiles, consumption, of course. And Textile Movement is one of the initiatives that we host, but it's in its core, it's very much a collaborative, kind of community-driven initiative. And it's initiated by Västra Götaland Region, the West Sweden region, as a way to really mobilize along this textile sector, and to say that, okay, textile sector is very important for this region, and we should keep it that way. So it's very strategic in that sense. And our promise, or like the purpose with it, it's to help the companies basically to transform, and we want to make the circular shift really simple for them, or as simple as it can get, because of course it's not simple for companies and for industries to do this transition. But we also see that in this region we have really good, unique expertise in these fields. We have the Röhsska Research Institute with this textile focus here in Mölndal. We have Vargön Innovation in Vänersborg. We have the university and the science park that I represent, to just mention a few actors. So, I mean, Västra Götaland Region should be the best place on earth to develop your circular business at. And that is something that we are tapping into with this project. It's also a matter of, I mean, meeting this new wave of legislation and regulations, and not being drowned by that, but becoming like a surfer, and to be successful and be more compatible by this transition. And that's really the core of it, to help the companies achieve that. Textile Movement, basically, you can say that it's three cornerstones in this initiative. One is the community that we are trying to build and cultivate, and really connect these different actors that today exist in the same system, but maybe are competitors in some sense for project money, or it can be different ownerships for these different actors. So we want to connect these organizations, but also the individuals, to create stronger bonds that will help us do a better job at helping the companies. And this connection of organizations and people leads us to really strengthen the textile innovation system that exists today, but to have it more unified. And also to be able to push the agenda for the development. And we will do that better if we can combine as one region and as one unified voice, which also leads us to the communication aspect of it. And what I see has historically been maybe our weakest point. that we do a lot of good stuff, each and every one of us, but we're really bad at communicating it and really showcasing the good results. But also in a matter of helping people finding us, the companies in the region, the companies outside the region, other stakeholders. So visibility and communication is also key in this part. We have had a pre-project time where we developed and identified, okay, what are our focus areas in this region and what should be the focus for Textile Movement to really push. And we landed in these 7 ones, and these are you can say that it's levers for transition into circularity, but it's also where we see that we have organizations that have strong leadership or strong capacities in these areas. And the number 1 is circular design, to look at products and services and how they can be combined into new business models and into new ecosystems rather than just selling in a linear way. So the circular design is very, very core of the Textile Movement, with many strong actors working with that. Access to local production is another really important part, both for creating a more local, demand-driven production to reduce the overproduction, but also to manage these new value chains that appear in the circular system. And in relation to local production, we also have the new jobs in relation to sorting and collecting textile, for example. So the circular transition needs a lot of hands in that sense. Material development is another super important part of it. I mean, creating new materials from the discarded resources, but also looking into biomaterials, and we have a strong development there. Open innovation hubs is really about connecting the existing innovation hubs that is out there today and make it more accessible to companies and to make it more understandable who does what and where can I find the right help. Future talent is also about supporting and creating a community that makes it more attractive for talents to stay in the region. I mean, we have the Swedish School of Textiles, which is a part of my university where I work, is ranked as the 9th best design and fashion school in the world. So it's really important for us that we educate with such a high class that we keep this competence in the region, and that we make it more attractive for them to be here and work here in our companies that we have here, but also to start their own companies here. Sustainable consumption is also another really important, you can say, focus area, and it's becoming more and more important. You talk about retail, you talk about trade, but it's really about the new behaviors meeting the new retail sector and that dynamics between that. And last but not least, as I mentioned, the community building to really cultivate and create strong personal bonds. One example of an activity that is upcoming next month is the Talent Talk. Will be held here at Röhsska Museet, and this is for creators and creatives in the textile fashion industry, and a meeting place for them to connect to each other. So that is one example of an event. Hosted by Experience Next at Lindholmen Science Park, I would say. When I say community of organizations, this is what I mean, because Textile Movement is 14 organizations that have come together to found it. Västra Götaland Region as the initiator, and then we have 14 organizations. But then we have a wider community of business supporting organizations that we want to interact with. So this is what the platform Textile Movement should encourage bonds between. It's the education and innovation actors that I represent at Science Park Borås, but we have a long list of actors here in the region. We have the industry organizations that maybe have their base in Stockholm, but they have a strong presence here since we have a lot of companies here. And then we have the local and regional stakeholders that are also interested, the region, the sub-regions and the municipalities, that they are also interested in that we're creating jobs in this sector, and that this becomes something that is attractive. So the strategy with Textile Movement is to combine competitiveness for companies and that they become winners in this transition, together with attractiveness for this region, and that this together becomes this driving force, that it helps each other. And that Västra Götaland Region becomes like a lighthouse and something that can inspire other regions as well in Europe. Some initiatives, like Textile Movement is the umbrella, and then we have a lot of initiatives and sub-projects underneath. I will mention a few of them here. One of them is Textile Movement Lifelong Learning, which is like a learning lab, looking at how can lifelong learning become like a lever for this transition, but also what kind of competences is needed in the future industry. Maybe it's not enough to just have a master or have a PhD and then you go work. Maybe you have to have another kind of continuous learning during your it's important for companies to stay competitive to work with lifelong learning. Circular Hub Twin Transition. Helena mentioned this, go from thinking to doing. Circular Hub Twin Transition has something that they call a do tank, which is a think tank, but not for thinking, but for really making stuff. So that's a really concrete way of how we reach the companies. So it's a knowledge hub for digital and circular economy, but a lot of focus on doing stuff. Arena Swedish Wool is a platform for collaboration to really ramp up the use of Swedish wool, which historically has not been used in a lot of sense, or historically it was, but then, as we know, in this mid-period, we just burn it instead. Sortex is focused on the textile collecting and sorting processes in order to have a high value reuse. The Microfactories project, looking at demand-driven manufacturing and value chains, as I mentioned, to have this reduce overproduction, but also to help the circular value chains. Textile Movement Talents, as I mentioned, the event is to support the talents and the creatives in this industry. And Remore is a project to promote sustainable fashion consumption among young adults. So, and I don't mention like the names of each organization driving this, because it's different organization doing the different things, but everything is connected, and it's like the unified voice of Textile Movement that is the center. But we have a lot of organizations collaborating in this. And I'm going to finish up my presentation by describing how we connect, how Textile Movement is really connected to the you can say the idea of creating system change, because when we talk about innovation today, we do not only talk about small technologies or like a patent here and there. It's really a lot of focus on this system innovation. And what does system innovation really mean? It's usually described in 5 different dimensions that are interconnected and that drive each other, but it's important to work with the entire system in order to create change. And Textile Movement is a little bit rooted in this idea. So you have the technology and product, which is maybe what you normally think of as innovations, like these smart things and the new technologies. You have the business models, which is a lot of emphasis on that in the circular transition. As we know, the circular business models is super important. But then we also have the infrastructure perspective in order to scale up the different things. And you can think about the infrastructure as this collecting and sorting of textiles, as the access to local production or other kinds of infrastructure that is needed in order to go from pilot to large scale. But then we have the policy and regulation perspective, which is also a driver right now. We see a lot of the EU legislation being implemented from now and a couple of years ahead. And it's also important to see, okay, what is really missing? Is this enough? Or do we need also some more push from the policy agendas? And then, of course, we have the norms and behaviors that drive everything we do as people. And this aligns very well with the theory of how to create long-lasting, sustainable change, which is about scaling up, scaling out, and scaling deep, meaning that we must impact the laws and policies, the playground, so to say, the common rules for how we can act. We must impact a greater number of actors going in the same direction. We must have a multitude of second-hand retailers in order to have enough, in order for it to be attractive for consumers to find what they are after, or consumers engaging in the same thing. So create these tipping points by gathering a greater number of actors. And then we have the scaling deep to impact the cultural roots and the norms in the society. And these three, you have to work with them simultaneously because they impact each other. And if you do not success in all of them, you will not create a change that is sustainable or over time. So, Textile Movement, these are our founders, and the strategic board consists of these organizations, financed by EU and VGR. And yeah, I'll be here if you have any more questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. I want you to stay a little bit. Yes, you're talking about your region as the lighthouse that could inspire other regions. So do you collaborate with other regions and countries right now?
Absolutely. I mean, we are, at Science Park at least, we are very interconnected with other regions and also in international projects and so forth. But one good example is a national project that is called Systemic Demonstrator for Textile System, where we collaborate with a lot of stakeholders in Sweden just to look at these 5 dimensions and how can we work with them and develop prototypes in all 5 of them.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. And you want to be the leading textile cluster in Europe, or do you think you are the leading already?
I mean, we're one leading textile cluster, I would say. We just got our silver certificate as a cluster in the official cluster organization. So we're doing fine with that. And but I mean, it's really evident that this region holds a lot of expertise here. So this is really to strengthen that. So
which one is number 2 then?
We're good in different ways. I think maybe there are stronger regions that have more production still. So for production purposes, maybe some other. But when it comes to development and innovation, I think we are far ahead.
Oh, that's good. Give him a hand.
Oh.
Yeah. And Adrian, you were talking about Talent Talk. I think that's a great name. But you're going to be in Design Talk.
Yes.
Because we are arranging Design Talks. It's for 1 hour digital for lunchtime. And the 15th of November, we're going to talk more about textiles and sustainability. So you're going to be one of the speakers. So if you have questions, you can send it to me, and I can ask you the 15th of November. Thank you.
Thank you.